This is Shatona's December. It's not even a pile of possibilities. It's going to be a shelf of possibilities. So what I decided to do was to take out all of the books, except for my TBR, on the shelf next to my chair here, and bring in all my Christmas books from the escape room. And I thought that would be kind of fun, you know, just to be able to grab and have. And so I'll show you the ones that I plan to read. And then I will show you, that I'm definitely going to read. I just finished my Chantal Reads All Day. This is the 29th that I'm filming this. I just finished it a few minutes ago. And I have not even touched my Googe for 2 months now. And that's just not like me, but I'm on a deadline, and so that always slows me down. But so we're just gonna talk about the Christmas books I own while I do my TBR video, because I'm like, hey, I know they're not all there. I've discovered that we have books in a shelf in a closet that I can't get to right now, and that's where some of the books that I'm missing are, and I'm like so glad to know where they are. But I have a lot of my Christmas books here. Most of them. I don't have all of the children's. I forgot that I was putting them up away so that I had them in. So that's a little mixed up. But we're just going to do this, and it's going to be fun, and I'll talk about it and probably make a mess. I had a nice hot cup of tea, and I drank it, so it's all gone. So now I've got my water to keep me hydrated while I do this. And I've got my All I Want for Christmas is book tree sweatshirt that my daughter designed. And so I am ready to get to work. Let's go. Okay. First up, let's do the books that I know I'm going to read. This is my Chantal Reads All Day December pick. It is, you're supposed to do within 20 words of the word count of the last one. So when I did my big old video, I'll try to link it. the craziness that was last year's, try to figure this out. I don't even want to think about what this year's is going to be like. I had at least two piles, maybe three on this last one. And they were all within 20. It's one of the things I did. This is To Love a Viking by Heather Day Gilbert and Jen, I think it's Cudmore. Let's put some glasses on so you can see Shatona. Yeah, Jen Cudmore. And this is the Tabalon Vikings. This is book 1. I talked to them on the podcast. I will try to link it. And it's gets swept up in an enthralling new romance series. Featuring women who rule the hearts of the Viking men. That's interesting. Forced into a financially advantageous marriage that spirals into a nightmare, Elisif cannot help but imagine what might have been and ache for what was lost. And escaped slave Anara is determined to start a new life. So I'm really excited to find out if I'm going to like this, because I know that Heather is an amazing author, and Jen is the one who came up with the story, wanted to do it, and asked Heather to do it with her, and Heather said yes. So that's my Chantal Reads All Day. That's happening. And then this is, it's still got the shrink wrap on it. This is the Elizabeth Googe for the month, but I have another book to read before. Yes. So I'm only one behind on this. So that's good. That's really good. So this will be after I read The Pilgrim's Inn, because I haven't read that one yet. And then what I wanted to do was sort of make December kind of a biblical fiction month, really stress biblical fiction, because I am learning to like it. Okay, so I have these 3 by Terry Garner. They're the Magi Journey, and I can't remember what order they go in. I'll have to see if I can see inside. I noticed, I'm always complaining about authors who don't put numbers on their books, and I noticed on my agency files I didn't, so I need to go change that. But this one's Assyria, and then there's Babylonia, and then there's Persia, and I can't recall day 58, so I think it goes in this order. The Sign, day -1. So I really wanted to read these for Christmas, and it got me excited about the idea of reading some more biblical fiction. So I decided there was a few others that I've been kind of wanting to try. And so first is M.D. House's I Was Called Barabbas. This is kind of a what if story for Barabbas, and they call it the Barabbas trilogy, but then there's a spin-off, and there's one about his daughter Sophia that just came out. So I decided, I have read some of this and I enjoyed what I was reading. There's a lot of the Apostle Paul in these books, so if you love the Apostle Paul, these might be a good series to pick up. I really want to read it. I only own the first two. I thought I owned the first three, and then I realized the third one I either have on audio or Kindle, and that's why I don't have it. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. And then I grabbed I've read one of the other Cities of Refuge books. No, two of them. But I hadn't read the first one. So I decided to pull this one out in case, because I really love Connellan Cassette. She writes the kind of biblical fiction I love. She writes about the culture and the time surrounding specific people and things, but she tends to leave them out a lot. I mean, they're very much side characters to, that influence the plot rather than are the protagonist, which I really appreciate. So, I mean, like, I Was Called Barabbas, he's just a name mentioned. We don't know anything about him, so that doesn't bother me. But, books about actual biblical figures kind of scare me a little bit. So, when I discovered her, I loved it. And so I want to read the first one because, why not? And I don't think I've done any of them on Goodreads, so I might reread them all. I mean, why not? Obviously not all this month. And everybody tells me if I want to have good biblical fiction, I want to read Tessa Afshar. So I'm thinking I have this one by her. I think it's the only one I have by her. And this one is a young Jewish scribe in the household of Daniel. So it's during that period. And then I have to read this actually before Saturday. So this is Sarah Monzon's All's Fair in Love and Christmas. It's a rom-com. I think she's kind of had a thing for him in The Office for a long time. So it's not really enemies to loathe to love, as J.C. Weaver puts it. I love Loathe to Love. That is so great. It is so much better than Enemies to Lovers, which I've never liked. Best Friends to More, I can handle that. But Loathe to Love, that is great. So it's not that. She's kind of had a thing for him, but she's kind of quiet and hasn't, put herself out there in any way. And I don't think he has a problem with her. But there is a competition. Oh, and there's a recipe. But there's a competition in this book for a promotion. That's how the guy does it. Basically, whoever does the most over-the-top Christmas gets the promotion. And so they're vying for it. So even though it's not Loathe to Love, there is a rivalry thing going on. So I'm just like, I'm excited to read it, but I'm going down to Sandy Barella's from Celebrate Lit. I'm going down to her house for her Christmas tea on Saturday, and we're going to be filming videos up for the 12 Days of Christmas giveaways that she does. And I need to know about this book so I can talk about it, because this is one of the books that is being given away. So I will announce that on here at that time when that time comes, and tell you all about it so that you can get entries in to win books. There's like 2 of mine in there, I think. So there's that. Okay. And then I remember I just got this book by Kate Willis. It feels like it's a Birth of Christ fantasy and reimagining. I want to read this, so I left it in here because I'm like, why not? Because why not? And then recently I figured out 5 days before Christmas is when the first Van de Beeker's book that everybody is telling me I'm going to love. Okay, so since it starts around Christmas and I've been wanting to start this series, you silly boy. You say hi? You go say hi? You say hi to the camera? Yeah, say hi. Yeah, okay. because of that, I've been wanting to start it, but when I discovered it started at Christmas, I was like, that's it. That's when I'm going to read this book. So there's that one. And then I have been wanting to read this book since I got it. It's Susan May Warren. I know it's going to be romancy, but it's like a found family. It's kind of like found family in a snowstorm kind of thing. So it's not like a long-term found family, but like everybody kind of has to pull together. So it says, 5 strangers with broken hearts, one raging blizzard, baby, it's cold outside. And Dottie Morgan has no desire to share her home or her heart for this Christmas. By the way, I think this is like World War II or something like that. Yeah. I should have kept reading. After all, her holiday spirit froze over when she lost her son in World War II. Or maybe that it's just been years since then. I don't know. Whatever. I think it has to do with the war, though. But when the blizzard of the decade descends on Frost, Minnesota, trapping Dottie in her home with 4 near strangers, she discovers that opening her door might also open her heart to a miracle and a new reason to celebrate Christmas. That just sounds super good. I'm going to see if there's a year mentioned in here. 1949. So it's post-World War II, but because yes. Because yes. Okay, so I have these shelves, and I hope I can fit all these books on these shelves. We shall see, we shall see. I'm going to start putting them up there, and then I'll rearrange when I have time. So my first Christmas book isn't this a beautiful little Everyman's Library? It's a pocket Christmas poems I just saw the night before Christmas. Christmas at Sea, Adoration of the Kings. Noel Christmas Eve, 1913. So, yes, because yes. And I think I have another anthology of Christmas poems that are in my mom's room now that I think about it. And then I have On That Night by Elizabeth Yates. Among the many legends that have to do with Christmas Eve, there's one that says that on that night, lost things are found again. And it's a wonderful story. It's just, yes. So, and then I have a Louisiana Christmas to Remember by Betsy St. Amant, Morgan Tarpley Smith, and Lenora Worth. This one came about because someone on Avid Readers of Christian Fiction said, hey, is there any book that takes place in Louisiana about Christmas? And there wasn't one. So Morgan said, hey, let's do this. And Barbara said, okay. And so these, unlike a lot of these anthologies, there's my receipt. Unlike a lot of these anthologies, this one, the stories are about the same family, the same place, and how they connect. And so it's extra special in my opinion. I feel like I should move that to the shop shelf, but I'm not going to yet. I got a little space in there, so you know. And here's The Mitford Snowman Christmas Story by Jan Carone that I got in Bern. Saving Ebenezer by S. Daniel Smith. The continuing saga of a man named Scrooge. And he's supposed to be having another one coming out. So I'm kind of excited about that. And he also has written some like sci-fi-ishness that I want to try. It's a very quick read. I love that cover. It's a very quick read though. So this is totally accessible. Just putting that out there. And then my favorite Christmas book that I read almost every year. It's not the best written book on the planet, but it is so fun. It is just delightful. It has a young woman with Down syndrome who gets to go to this ball and the people that go with her and all this delightfulness. And it's really about that woman's brother and another woman, but Sandy, she's my favorite character. I love this book. So it's kind of magical realism, contemporary fantasy, because there's this street that keeps appearing and disappearing. It's amazing, and I love it, and I think everybody should read 2 Tickets to the Christmas Ball. Because, yes, and my foot is going to sleep. Okay, and then I have a few copies of A Christmas Carol. So, yeah, these are in no order. They were just shoved up on the shelf, and so I'm putting them in order now. So, this is one of them. It's a Barnes & Noble edition with, like, you know, deckled edges, so it's not anything crazy special, but I loved it, and I paid $1 for it. One of my all-time favorite books, not just Christmas books, but all-time favorite books, Last Christmas in Paris. I read this last year. I think for the epistolary prompt for Chantal Reads All Days, You've Got Mail, I think. Or I bought it for that and then I saved it and read it at Christmas. That's what it was. That's what it was. But it was so good. Love, love, love this book. And then it's not in good order. Okay. And then I read this one last year, An Evergreen Christmas. There's a whole bunch of different authors in here. Charles Dickens, Louisa May Alcott, Hans Christian Andersen, and Yeats. So there's poems and stories and like George MacDonald, Mary's Song, you know, just Gift of the Magi, A Christmas Turkey and How It Came. Just a lot of great little stories. I read one a day, I think. How many are there? I can't remember. I feel like I had to read a couple at a time to make it all fit. Yeah, there's 29. So I think I read a couple on when they had a couple short ones close together. I read 2 instead. But I like that little anthology. It's pretty cool. And then my friend Joanne Markey, there's more books by her that we will get to. But one of them is, this is a Taking Chances book. Joanne, isn't that just the most beautiful cover? It is so sweet. And Christmas Rose is, with Secret Santa event underway, Rose Vincent is eager to get started, putting her cell phone away and pulling out pen and paper. What could be more fun than bringing a little Christmas cheer to a lonely old man? One note at a time, Rose is determined to create an entire joy-filled holiday with notes and little gifts spread out over the coming weeks. It's Christmas after all. So I feel like maybe I'm going to put that up on my top shelf. It may get moved around, but I don't know. One of my all-time favorite Christmas books. This is a book there's not enough money to pay me to get rid of it. I love it so much. And it has a wonderful note from Kathy, so that's why this one in particular is mine, all mine. But yeah, so Snow Angels, well, all she wanted to do was one good deed. All she wanted to do was one good deed. When Lisa Marsh is roped into serving Thanksgiving dinner at the local community center, she encounters hundreds of children, lively teenagers, stubbornly independent veterans, eccentric elderly people, and a particularly rude and scruffy homeless man named Pete. The evening ends in disaster, but when her best friend challenges her to reach out and help other people, Lisa decides to take on the project of reforming Pete, whether he likes it or not. Her plan is simple: help him find a job and become respectable. All he needs is a helping hand and some guidance. And a shave. Definitely a shave. So, I don't want to tell anymore, but this has the funniest old people you'll ever see. It is just it's so good. I'm going to move this back just a bit. It is so good. I'm telling you. It's hysterical. It's in Chicago, this neighborhood that doesn't actually exist. When I was pre-reading this, I had an advanced copy. I was reading it at a friend's house where I was writing at her table at night. And I had to go out into the freezing garage and read out there because I was laughing so hard that I was going to wake up the family. It was so good. It was just so good. So, Snow Angels. All right, and then London Snow by Paul Theroux. But Paul Theroux writes some really great. Then we have a Quote for Christmas by Melody Carlson. And this is about an older woman who has left her wonderful home. She's moved to the town where her children are so that she can be close to the grandkids. And she's living in like this apartment, and then the kids move. And now she's there alone, and she's like not happy. And I kind of get it. But the neighbor girl next door needs help. Her mom's in the hospital, and she wants to make a quilt for her mom for Christmas. And so it's all about how people come together to make that happen. I'm going to put that up there. So I'm trying to make sense of this as I go. And then Renee Gooderidge, who wrote the Boo Hoo, Boo Hiss series and Ghostwriter. Ghostwriter was one of my favorite books. And a bunch of other things. She and Dan Short got together This is the Santa Claus Chronicles. And what it is Dan Short has played Santa Claus for years. And so he collected the stories of things that has happened in the years that he played Santa Claus, and they put it all together. So there's that one. And then Charlotte Zolotil is one of my all-time favorite children's picture book authors, The Beautiful Christmas Tree. I have not read this book. I don't know this story, but it's like a chapter book because, I mean, look at all the... I have not read it, so this will probably definitely be a read this year because yes. And then The Christmas Carol Society. Guys, this book is so much fun. So Rebecca Jones, she wrote The Lost Dutchman's Secret from the Ever After Mysteries. It's Rumpelstiltskin in the 20s in Arizona desert, and it's wonderful. But this one is super fun. It says, how do you impersonate a Christmas ghost? The Christmas season has arrived, and the members of the newly formed Christmas Carol Society are beginning their weekly meetings. Charlie Baker finds the first meeting odd enough, but when assignments start, he has to wonder why he allowed himself to get roped into attending. Miss Dartmoor tells her members to impersonate the ghost of Christmas past for their own personal Scrooge. Just how does a mere human accomplish such an absurd task? Charlie tries to figure it out, but begins to see the Lord might plan for the assignments to have a deeper impact on him than he expected. An impact Charlie isn't sure he's ready to face. Or wants to face. So this book was so good. I really loved this book. So you'll hear that a lot because I love Christmas books. I mean, guys, I'll put the number in here. I'll count them and I'll put the number in here. But I've written over 120 books at this point, I think. And I'm going to say at least 25 of them. Great number, right? I think at least 25 of them are Christmas. So then I have a couple more children's. Elizabeth Enright, A Christmas Tree for Lydia. If Elizabeth Enright writes it, I'm going to read it. I did not know about this book as far as I can recall, and I found it and bought it. I'm getting some of them mixed up. So I may start reading it and go, oh yeah, I do remember that. That's so great. But right now my brain is fried and I may or may not have read it. And then The Christmas Cat by Ethner Tudor Holmes, who is Tasha Tudor's daughter. This is illustrated by Tasha Tudor. One of the last books she illustrated, I think. But it's her typical, beautiful, wonderful, just love it. But I love Tasha Tudor. I love her books, all the things. So I'm going to put that there. And then Cynthia Rylant is one of my all-time favorite children's authors as well. She wrote When I Was Young in the Mountains and When the Relatives Came and, oh my goodness, I can't remember them all. But Christmas in the Country. This one's so much fun. It's just, I think this is the gal who did the illustrations for that book by Sarah Stewart about the librarian who like filled up her house full of books until she finally turned it into a library because it was overflowing. Yeah. Uh-oh. This doesn't fit up there. So this is going to have to go down here. Yikes. All right. Then, okay. So next one is another one by Kathy Swanson. She's just a really funny writer. And the Christmas Camp, she's trying to basically create Christmas for people who don't have one, have never had like a white Christmas, so people in the South. So she's like creating this Christmas campy thing, and there's a juxtaposition between her and this guy who doesn't get what she's doing, and all the fun stuff. But so Christmas Camp, I read it in bits and pieces. I need to actually read it now because yes. And then, okay, this actually might be my favorite Christmas book of all time. Marguerite D'Angeli, The Lion in the Box. There's a family of children. They are near starvation. They're just barely surviving. And then a big giant box appears and they're trying to guess what's in it. And it's just such a wonderful, wonderful Christmas story. If you have not read this book, find it, get it. You won't regret it. I just love it so much. And then this is I don't know why it's in with these, but this is one of the Christmas Lights collections from 2019. It has Carrie Trumbo, Tony Shiloh, Kathy Swanson, and me. And this one is, oh, this one was 2019. Yeah, that was a very horrible year. But that's when I wrote the 12 dates of Christmas. And that was a fun book to write. I had so much fun with that book. I read it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun story. I don't know if I'm ever going to read this again, but it's signed by Nicole to me. And then, let's see what else is up. Oh, here's that other one by Paul Theroux, A Christmas Card. You know, I almost said that, and then I was thinking of that Hallmark movie, The Christmas Card. And the Hallmark movie, Christmas Card, is, okay, so I have read this. I think I remember it now. Anyway, it's our favorite Hallmark movie. Cheesy as anything, but it's our favorite. So this, I think I want to put with these. All right. These are two of my favorite Christmas books for middle grade. They are awesome. It's a Moravian story. Ruth Knowlton Moore, The Christmas Surprise, and then Distant Thunder. But you learn a lot about Moravian traditions. This takes place in, I think it's okay, this one is with the War for Independence, and this is 1755. So it's like the French and Indian War? Yeah, the French and Indian War. So this is like 20 years, this one, and then 20 years later. But these stories are so, my kids loved these books so much. Great, 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 great books. Put them right here. All right. I'm not supposed to be organizing this yet, but I'm doing it as I go. A Tale of Two Hearts. This is Michelle Greep, and it is like a reimagining of The Tale of Two Cities. Like, I don't remember if this is one of the ones that it's kind of how maybe Dickens got the idea. The other one of his definitely is. I can't remember if this one is or not. It's been several years since I read it. But I loved this one and 12 Days at Blinkley Manor. Loved those. Didn't enjoy her Old Lace Shop, which is like the old curiosity shop. She switched that one to First Person Present. And it just jarred me so much. I just did not like it. I liked the story. I didn't like the writing. Okay. And then I got this to read last year for Christmas. The Weather Outside is Frightful. A soul as cold as frost. By Jennifer Kropf. Merry Christmas to all a good fright. After Helen Bell's eyes are open to see the invisible rhyme folk who drift into our world from a realm called winter, she's compelled to go on the run into their snowy world to avoid being forced to battle in the quarrel of the sword and bone, a death sentence for anyone who steps into the arena with the deranged winter queen, whose soul crisped to frost long ago. And apparently there's more in this series. This is book 1. But I wanted to read this last year and I never got to it. So I think I'm going to move this one up to a yes for this year. All right. And then, Christmas by the Book. This book, guys. Okay. This takes place, is this one in Scotland? I feel like it's either in Northern England or in Scotland. British Village. It's way up there. It's cold. It's a wonderful, wonderful bookstore. And the couple are having financial troubles. The wife is trying to keep it from her husband how bad things are. She's like the bookkeeper and she doesn't want him to be all stressed out, but because he had heart trouble and, all kinds of stuff. But the shop is in trouble. And so I've got my whole series about shops in trouble. So I feel this book. And then it's all about how they've had this one book that they've had for, it's ever since they opened the store, and it finally sells, and it gives her an idea. Look, this is going to be the last Christmas for the store. We're going out with a hurrah. And she does kind of an It's a Wonderful Life kind of feel where she tries to bless people, and it's so good. Well, there are a couple of things in here I didn't like, so I have to give a warning. there are at least a couple of instances where a very ugly word is used. And I almost put it down because of it. Glad I didn't, but I will, when I reread it, I will be using my little black tape to cover the words because they're completely unnecessary. And it's not like they're gratuitous. They're not just thrown in like a comma, but I didn't appreciate it. But the story is so beautiful. I loved it so much. And like, so I've read Jenny Colgan, Bookshop on the Corner. I listened to that one on audio and I was loving it. And all of a sudden it was like, I am trapped on the highway. I was on a freeway and I can't get out of traffic to pull over to skip it. And I'm getting all this, it's like half open door scene, and I'm just like I was like, I don't need this information. It was awful. It was so awful because I couldn't get away from it. I was listening. This book I liked. I mean, I loved the first part of that book and I loved most of the rest of that book, but there's a section in there I just did not like. This one didn't have that. Oh, the Bookshop of Yesterdays. Maybe I need to find out what that one is. The Lost and Found Bookshop. I think I've heard about that one, but I think I heard there's something in that I'm not going to like. If you know, please tell me. Anyway, so Christmas by the Book. I didn't mean to talk about it that long, but you know, this is Shatona and she has problems. Once Upon a Wardrobe. I actually have 2 copies of this because I forgot that I had put this up with Christmas books because it feels very Christmassy to me. It's like this little boy is sick and his sister goes to C.S. Lewis to find out if Narnia is real for this little boy who is, sick and dying. And then it becomes this conversation between Lewis and her. It's completely fictional, but it is beautiful and I love it. So I actually have 2 copies and I decided to keep both because I want one with my Narnia books and then I want one with my Christmas book. So I'm just keeping it. And then Confessions of a Christmas Cookie Pirate by Joseph Truitt. This is the one that wrote The Pumpkin Pirate, and there's some other pirate something, and he's got a new one out, and the cover is so amazing. I gotta get it. Maybe I should read one of his books first. No, my editor said I would like his books, so I trust her. Yikes. Let's see what we got back here. Okay. Well, okay then. So I think I'll be giving away a copy of An Evergreen Christmas because I do not need 2. So there's that. If you would like a copy, leave a comment and tell me, if you prefer short stories or poems. Let's go with that. Anywho, the Mistletoe Countess by Pepper Basham. The Cairo Curse is out. I need to get that. I haven't read it. This one is so hilarious. The final scene, I was dying. I have to say, though, if you have young girls who really love Pepper Basham, young teens, I would warn that they're married for most of the book. And I want to say it's closed door because it is. I mean, we're not getting... there's no way to say this discreetly, so I'm just going to say it has more in it than most Christian fiction. And it made me really uncomfortable, but I don't say that she crossed a line for most people. It just did for me. But I loved it and I kept it. So, I mean, that means something, right? All right. There's that. And then, okay, A Christmas Surprise. This is one of the Mantle Ministries books by Little Boy Wheeler. It is one of Isabella Alden. She has G.R. Alden. He's wrong. It's Isabella Alden. It's A Christmas Surprise. It's a wonderful story. Loved it. Oh, he's going by Mrs. G.R. Alden instead of by her first name. That's why. Okay, I can deal with that. I'm wrong. He's right. Life is grand. But her name is Isabella. See, it says right there. Isabella. Ha! Anyway, so what he did when he was publishing his books, there are actual illustrations in this one, but he would go find a good tight copy with really good pages, and then he would cut the spines off and scan them, and he did it very well. Some do it these days, and they do a terrible job. This originally was called Christie's Christmas, which I much prefer that title. Oh, this is Christmas. Well, that's weird. So it says A Christmas Surprise here. That's what he renamed it. He and I talked about the naming of it, and he wanted a Christmas surprise because he didn't want boys to think it wasn't a good book for them. But he put Christie's Christmas on the spine, so I don't know. But yeah, it's a wonderful story. The problem is, I'm having a problem. I haven't read it in over 20 years, and I always confuse it with the book 20 Minutes Late, which is about a train, and I think there's a train on this one too, so I get them all confused. Great book. And maybe I'll reread it so I can tell you why. I just can't remember. All the reasons. Okay, let's put that up there, and let's put this with middle grade. Right there. Okay. It's a total nightmare. Don't want that. Okay. Now, I mentioned where to go. Okay, so I have A Tale of Two Hearts, right? Well, I also have Once Upon a Dickens Christmas, which has that one and 12 Days at Blakely Manor and the Old Lace Shop. So they're all in this beautiful deckled edged. So I have this one too, because why not? And then Kathleen Robeson's Let Them Eat Fruitcake, because Kathleen Robeson's mom or mother-in-law, one of the two, has a great, it's got to be her mother-in-law because her mom would have been Japanese. So, but she's got a great fruitcake recipe, and so she wanted to do kind of a story inspired by that. So it's faith, romance, and fruitcake. Victoria Randall has it all: a new job, an ideal locale, and the eye of Chad, the hunkiest guy in her office building. Christmas is going to be great this year. But when a call from her best guy friend back in Baytown tells us her mother isn't doing well, she decides to fly to her grandmother's rescue. And then there's the story. So, I have not read this yet. I got it last year along with Mistletoe Village, which I think was her book from the year before. And I haven't read this one. When the city holds nothing but painful memories for sisters Rince and Sandy, they pack it up and head out for Grace and the promises it holds. Promises of a new start, a new job at Grace Hospital for Rince, I don't know, and a place to begin healing, but most of all, a promise to each of their hurting children that a real Christmas awaits them in Grace, complete with snow on giant evergreens and lots of mistletoe magic. So it takes place in Grace, Oregon, and I'm not going to read it anymore, but I do want to read it because Kathleen is sweet and I love her. So here's another of my Christmas Carol books. I know I've got at least a couple more, but I love these little sizes. They're so great. They just feel so good in the hand. Yeah. All right. And then, okay. I have another one of these books here. This is the second in the series. Christmas Rose was the third. An Orphan Herself. No, this might be the first one. This might be the first one. One girl, one problem, and two possible solutions. An orphan girl herself, all Nora Monroe wants to do is adopt 3 kids from the Stanhope Children's Home, giving them the home she never had. Sorry about that, but it's cold, so we're getting some heat. Head of the adoption board, Octavia Stanhope, driven by her own self-importance and prejudice, is determined to rid the town of riffraff like those Monroes. Her solution? To dust off an outdated and long-forgotten rule stating that all adopters must be married, and Nora is not married. Therefore, application denied. And then yeah, you can see where that's going to go. So I'm going to put it down here. I have read it. I can't remember all the details, but it's a really sweet story. And then Yours, Mine, and Forever. Yeah, this is the second one. Whoever said the course of true love never runs smooth knew their business, especially motherly love. And I don't want to read anything more because if I do, it will give away spoilers for that one. So I'm not going to do that. But yes, so Dreaming of More, Yours, Mine, and Forever, and Christmas Rose. And her husband is my illustrator as well, so he's done all the Ever After mysteries. He's done these books, and he did my Book Strings books. So there's that. And then, thank you. I can't remember. It's not saying in here. All right, so here's another picture book, The Doll's Christmas by Tasha Tudor. And yeah, it's Tasha Tudor and it's Dolls and it's Christmas. I don't think my Becky's Christmas is out here. I don't see one the right size for that. So Becky's Christmas is another one by Tasha Tudor I highly recommend. This is A Christmas Carol Murder that I got last year and never read. So I only have room for one more book in there, although I may not read all the biblical fiction in there. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 biblical fictions and not many Christmas, so this might fit in. After all, I'm gonna see if I can take this one. Oh, here it is, The Girl with the Pirate Smile. Christmas Carol Murder. May not read that. We shall see. Christmas with Ellen Montgomery. This was a little book of short stories that I got last year. It came from Book Outlet and they totally mangled it. It's got like a hole in the back that you can't really see, but it's like cut all the way through. It was just a total nightmare. But sweet stories, not the best, but sweet stories. So, you know, it works. And then The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is Harper Teen. You know how the story goes, right? There's this old banker type named Ebenezer Scrooge who shuffles around saying, bah humbug. One Christmas Eve, he's visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. In the morning, he wakes up, like, completely terrified and says to himself, this is my chance. I can change my future. Then he supposedly lives happily ever after. It's a nice story, but that's not how it happened for me. So, every Scrooge deserves a second chance. And that's what this one's about. On Christmas Eve, 5 years ago, Holly was visited by 3 ghosts who showed her how selfish and spoiled she'd become and tried to convince her to mend her ways. She didn't. And then she died. And I'm stopping there. Because, I mean, yes. So that sounds super fun. And I'm down for that. Murder on the Orient Express. It's not a Christmas book, but it feels like a Christmas book. So I put it with the Christmas books. I'm calling it that. Everybody knows what this book is, so I don't need to tell you. And then I have 2 books by Kathy Macias. Unexpected Christmas Hero and Return to Christmas. I bought both of these like almost 10 years ago from Kathy. My daughter read them. Shalice loved them, but I have not yet read them. So what is wrong with me? Nothing. Because nothing. I think they're both military inspired. This one's an inspiring story of friendship. And this one says, will his tough marine exterior prevent him from experiencing the greatest gift of all? A Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews. I bought the paperback. I listened to it on audio. Guys, if you like North and South, this has very strong North and South vibes. But it also, the audio, there every once in a while, it's not through the whole thing. My daughter thought I was saying through the whole thing, and I wasn't. But now and then, he will say something. The guy that's narrating it will say something, and he sounds exactly like Richard Armitage when he does that. But it was such a good story. It kind of is interesting because it's not really Christian fiction, but it's interesting how they have arguments about Darwin's origin of the species. And I get the feeling that she's trying to keep it let's look at this through the lens of faith instead of just taking the book on its own. And I thought that was really kind of cool. So, but it was a really, really good story. But yeah, it was so good. I went to read it again because I loved it, but I will listen to it. I do have a copy because I knew that I would have people who, I'm gonna put this down here, people who wanted to borrow it, and I can't loan them the other. So, and then this is Dear Santa, Children's Christmas Letters and Wish Lists from 1870 to 1920. And I just, I had to have it. And we don't even do Santa in my family. I mean, we just don't. But when I saw it, I was like, I need this. So I got it, and it's never going to be like my, all-time favorite Christmas book or anything. But it is what it is. I actually have some room. I could buy a book or two. Of course, I don't have any of my Advent books that I've already shown are up there. And then these are down here. I've clearly got some missing. But yeah, so if you would like to get this copy, there's some dust on it. But if you would like to get this copy, I'll give it away to somebody. Maybe I'll draw by Sunday. So get your entry in fast. Try to do it on Sunday. That would be better. Don't you think? I think that would be better. So anyway, there are my books. I will get up. It's going to take me a minute, but I will get up and I will show you what I did to my bookshelf. And then I will get back to work because I have to get to work because work.